Hello everybody, and welcome to an archetype guide for blue-black in Midnight Hunt Draft. Before I dive in, I want to remind you that if you enjoy this video and want to see more archetype guides, be sure to let me know by hitting that thumbs up button and commenting below. Also, subscribe to the channel for more draft content. Basically, the strategy of blue-black is to play very powerful cards and then have some incidental zombie synergy along the way because your powerful cards happen to be zombies. Organ Hoarder is just the best common in the set. It's a fantastic card. It fits nicely into this deck. Diagraph Horde, another top common, and also a very, very powerful addition to this sort of strategy. And then you have things like Blade Stitch Scab that make your little zombies a little bit better. But overall, if you're putting Organ Hoarders and Diagraph Hordes and all of the other great blue and black cards into your deck, you're going to be having a good time in this set. And so basically, blue and black just gets the benefit of having the best cards that happen to have a lot of synergy with each other, which is a good recipe for success. So you can play a mid-range role, adjusting to what are the needs of the matchup and which cards you happen to draw, playing more aggressive when you draw your early cards, and playing more of a grindy late game strategy when you draw your more mid-range and 2-for-1 cards. So just a very powerful deck because it can do kind of both things very well. Now, one important aspect of the deck is the random decayed zombies that you get from many of your cards incidentally. Just it seems like it's tacked on to cards that are already solid right on their own. And one of the keys to the deck is using those zombies for more than just 2 damage. So some examples of this are Ecstatic Awakener and things that let you tap 3 creatures to do an effect. So when you are able to sacrifice those zombies, you can use them for more than just that random 2 damage. And when you can generate multiple creatures, you can then fuel these tap cards like Scab Wrangler and Siege Zombie. One cool thing I want to note with Ecstatic Awakener, which happens to be a very, very good card in this archetype, is that you can actually almost get best of both worlds, where if you attack your opponent in response to the zombie's own sacrifice trigger, you can sacrifice it to the Ecstatic Awakener. If you're playing on Arena, make sure you hold full control to do so, but it is a cool little tip to be aware of. Now, another thing that I want to mention is there are some cards that are better than they look for this archetype. Larder Zombie is a card that uses those extra decayed tokens in a way that doesn't seem super meaningful, but actually just makes sure that you never end up flooding out. Then there is Crawl from the Cellar, which works particularly well with your zombies because you are going to be able to get back the ones that you really care about. And so those counters do tend to fly around. Keep in mind that you don't actually have to return a zombie to get the counter. It will just put the counter on if you if you do control a zombie. So you can get back like a human or your Scab Wrangler or whatever you want, and then as long as you have a random zombie lying around, you'll get a counter. So you can get your key threats back over and over. And then Flip the Switch is a card that performs really well in this deck. It does have a decent ability to play at instant speed. You can even do something like hold up your Ecstatic Awakener activation, and then if your opponent doesn't cast a spell, you can sacrifice a zombie, and if they do, you can flip the switch it. So Flip the Switch performs a lot better than it looks based on similar cards in the past. Now, here's an example of a blue-black zombies deck that went 6-3 in high diamond. It has a couple of Ecstatic Awakeners to use those zombies. It's got an Eaten Alive to use those zombies. And it has a Blade Stitch Scab for extra zombie synergy. And then just the classic blue and black cards. It's got 2 Defenestrates for some extra good removal, a Crawl from the Cellar, Larder Zombie, 2 of those sleepers that we mentioned. And then it's got just some big hitters like Diagraph Horde. It doesn't have any Organ Hoarders, but the deck was still able to perform great just because it has a lot of the key pieces that you're looking for in this sort of deck. Now, moving on to some gameplay tips for the strategy, make sure that you can survive the early game. A lot of the time, this deck has the tools to potentially curve out, but you don't always want to be racing your opponents because you tend to have a lot of late game value just built in when you have things like Crawl from the Cellar or Larder Zombie or Organ Hoarders in your deck. You're going to be able to win the late game a lot of the time against other aggro decks, so make sure that you can survive early to leverage that card advantage that other color combinations maybe don't get access to. Another tip is to save your decayed tokens. Don't just YOLO swing them in. There's a lot of ways to use them for more than just damage in this archetype, and so make sure that you are able to maximize those tokens and that you don't just chip in for the damage unless you really feel like you have to. And then eventually you'll have a big enough board of tokens that you can maybe alpha strike your opponent and kill them. Now, and then finally, use instant speed effectively. As I mentioned with the Ecstatic Awakener and Flip the Switch combo, there are a decent amount of instant speed effects in this archetype, and so you can get a little bit of extra edge if you're able to leverage that effectively, where you hold up mana going into your opponent's turn and then have several options, either a removal spell or maybe an Ecstatic Awakener flip or a counter spell, and just having that option is a way to get a little bit of an edge. Anyway, that is going to do it for this archetype guide. I really do hope you enjoyed it. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more content, and comment below with your questions or feedback, and leave hashtag Zombeezy to let me know you made it all the way till the end of the video, because hopefully drafting blue-black zombies will be a breeze for you now that you've watched this guide. That is going to do it for this video, though. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you next time.